My name is Billy. I was 6 years old. We lived in a small town in Wisconsin. It was the year 2003. I had a friend, his name was Pipsqueak. Pipsqueak was always there, he was my best friend. He was funny, he made me laugh. Mom said he was imaginary, she said all kids had them. But Pipsqueak felt real to me. He looked like a small man. He had big ears and a pointy nose. He wore a green suit and a little top hat. I was the only one who could see him. We did everything together. We played in my room, we went on adventures in the backyard. He told me stories, sometimes his stories were a little scary, but I liked them. One day, Pipsqueak told me a story about the woods behind our house. He said there were little creatures living there. They had shiny eyes and sharp teeth. He said they liked to play games, but their games were not like ours. They liked to hide things, Pipsqueak whispered. Things that are important to people. And sometimes, they don't give them back. I didn't like that story, it made my tummy feel funny. Don't worry, Billy, Pipsqueak said, smiling his wide, toothy smile. They won't bother us, we're friends. But after that story, things started to feel different. My toys would go missing. My favorite truck, my coloring books. Mom would help me look, but we could never find them. Maybe you just misplaced them, sweetie, she'd say. But I knew it wasn't me. Pipsqueak would just smile that smile. Then, other things started to disappear. Dad's keys, Mom's favorite necklace. Things that weren't even mine. Have you seen my keys, Billy? Dad would ask, his face getting red. I would shake my head. I didn't want to tell him about Pipsqueak. He wouldn't understand. One night, I woke up and saw Pipsqueak standing at the foot of my bed. The moonlight made his green suit look dark. His eyes seemed to glow. Billy, he whispered. The creatures in the woods want to play a new game. What game? I asked, my voice small. They want something special, he said. Something that belongs to you. I didn't like the sound of that. What do they want? I asked. Pipsqueak just smiled. They haven't told me yet. But we have to find it for them. The next day, Pipsqueak was acting strange. He kept looking out the window at the woods. He would whisper to himself. I couldn't hear what he was saying. Mom noticed I was quiet. What's wrong, honey? She asked. Pipsqueak is acting weird, I said. Mom smiled sadly. Billy, remember? Pipsqueak is just in your imagination. But I knew she was wrong. Pipsqueak was real. And something was wrong. That afternoon, my little sister, Lily, started crying. She couldn't find her teddy bear, Mr. Snuggles. She took him everywhere, he was her favorite. We looked all over the house. Under the beds, in the toy box, in the closet. But Mr. Snuggles was gone. Lily cried and cried. Mom held her tight, Dad looked worried. I saw Pipsqueak standing in the corner of the room, watching. He had that smile on his face. Did you see Mr. Snuggles, Pipsqueak? I asked. He just shrugged. Maybe the creatures in the woods have him. I felt a cold feeling in my chest. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Lily's tears. I thought about all the things that had gone missing. And I thought about Pipsqueak's smile. I got out of bed and went to the window. I looked out at the woods. They looked dark and scary in the moonlight. I thought I saw little shiny eyes looking back at me. Suddenly, I heard a noise behind me. I turned around. Pipsqueak was standing in my doorway. "Billy," he whispered. "They want something else now." "What?" I asked, my voice shaking. "They want something alive," he said. My heart started to beat fast. "Alive? Like what?" Pipsqueak's smile grew wider. "Like your little sister." I gasped. "No! You can't let them." Pipsqueak just shrugged. "They're my friends, Billy. We have to help them." I knew then that Pipsqueak wasn't just an imaginary friend. He was something else. Something dangerous. I ran to my parents' room. "Mom! Dad! Pipsqueak is bad." I cried. "He wants to hurt Lily." My parents were sleepy. They didn't understand. "Billy, honey, it was just a bad dream," Mom said, pulling me close. "No. He's real. He talks to creatures in the woods. They took Lily's bear. And now they want her." Dad sat up. "Billy, there's no such thing as creatures in the woods." But I knew there was. And Pipsqueak was connected to them. I had to do something. I had to protect Lily. The next morning, I stayed close to Lily. I didn't let her out of my sight. Pipsqueak kept trying to talk to me, but I ignored him. "Billy, they're getting impatient," he said, his voice sharp. "You need to bring them something." "No," I said. "I won't." Pipsqueak's face turned angry. His big ears twitched. His pointy nose seemed to get longer. "You have to, Billy, or they'll come and take her themselves." I was scared, but I stood my ground. "No." That afternoon, Lily and I were playing in the living room. Mom was in the kitchen. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The air got cold. Lily started to cry. "I'm scared, Billy." I held her tight. I looked around the room. Pipsqueak wasn't there. Then, we heard a scratching sound at the window. Little taps. Tap, tap, tap. Lily hid her face in my shirt. "What's that?" she whispered. I went to the window and peeked through the curtains. Outside, in the yard, I saw them. The creatures from Pipsqueak's stories. They were small and hunched over. They had shiny eyes that glowed in the dim light. And they had long, sharp teeth. They were looking at the house. Looking at us. I felt a wave of terror wash over me. They were real. And they were here. Suddenly, the front door creaked open. Mom screamed from the kitchen. "Billy! Lily! Run!" I grabbed Lily's hand and we ran. We ran out the back door and into the woods. The woods were dark and full of shadows. I could hear the creatures behind us, their little feet pattering on the ground. Pipsqueak appeared beside me. His face was twisted with anger. "You shouldn't have done that, Billy," he hissed. "Now they're angry. They want to hurt my sister." I yelled. "You lied to me." "They're just playing," Pipsqueak said. You're ruining the game." We ran deeper into the woods. The trees were thick and the ground was uneven. Lily was crying, but she kept running. We finally reached a small clearing. There was an old, broken-down shed in the middle. "Let's hide in there," I said. We ran inside the shed. It was dark and dusty. There were holes in the walls and the roof. We huddled together in the corner, listening. We could still hear the creatures outside, their soft whimpers and scratching sounds. "They're going to get us, Billy," Lily cried. "No, they're not," I said, trying to sound brave. "I won't let them." Pipsqueak appeared in front of us. His eyes were glowing green. "It's too late, Billy," he said. "They're here for her." Suddenly, the creatures burst into the shed. They were even scarier up close. Their teeth were long and sharp, their eyes were like glowing coals. They reached for Lily. I pushed her behind me. "Leave her alone!" I yelled. The creatures just hissed. Then, something strange happened. Pipsqueak stepped in front of me. "Stop," he said to the creatures. His voice was different now. It was deeper and stronger. The creatures froze. They looked at Pipsqueak. "She's under my protection," Pipsqueak said. "You can't have her." The creatures whimpered and backed away. They looked scared of Pipsqueak. Then, they turned and ran out of the shed, disappearing into the woods. I stared at Pipsqueak. He looked different. He seemed bigger. His green suit looked darker. His eyes still glowed, but now they were a deep red. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice trembling. Pipsqueak smiled. It wasn't the friendly smile he used to have. It was a cold, cruel smile. "I'm not Pipsqueak anymore, Billy," he said. "My real name is something you wouldn't understand." His voice changed again. It sounded like many voices speaking at once. They were whispering and hissing. "I was using you, Billy," the voice said. "I needed a way into your world. Children's imaginations are powerful, they can open doors." I felt a chill go down my spine. "You were never my friend?" The voice laughed. "Friend? No, little boy. I feed on fear, and you and your little sister, you have so much fear." I looked at Lily. She was crying, her eyes wide with terror. "Leave her alone," I said again, but my voice was weak. The entity that used to be Pipsqueak took a step closer. His form seemed to shift and change. He grew taller. His pointy nose became a sharp beak. His big ears turned into leathery wings. "She'll be delicious," the entity hissed. Suddenly, Mom and Dad burst into the shed. Dad had a shovel in his hands. "Get away from my children," he yelled. The entity turned to them, its red eyes glowing. "Foolish mortals," it said. "You can't stop me." Dad swung the shovel. It hit the entity in the side. The entity shrieked. A black, oily smoke poured from the wound. The entity stumbled back. It looked surprised. You can see me?" It hissed at my parents. Mom grabbed Lily and pulled her close. "Get out of our house," she cried. The entity glared at us. Then, with a screech, it turned into a cloud of black smoke and swirled out of the shed. The air felt warmer. The lights outside seemed brighter. Mom and Dad rushed to us. They hugged us tight. "Are you okay?" Mom asked, her voice shaking. Lily was still crying, but she nodded. "What? What was that thing?" Dad asked, looking around the shed. I looked at the spot where Pipsqueak had been. He was gone. "It was my imaginary friend," I said. But he wasn't imaginary. My parents looked at each other. I knew they didn't believe me. But they had seen something. They had seen the black smoke. We went back to the house. It felt different now. The air was lighter. The shadows didn't seem so dark. Lily's teddy bear, Mr. Snuggles, was sitting on her bed. "Mr. Snuggles!" Lily cried, running to hug him. Mom and Dad looked at each other again. Things went back to normal, sort of. Lily was happy to have her bear back. Mom and Dad tried to act like nothing had happened. But I knew better. I knew that something dangerous had been in our house. Something that pretended to be my friend. I never saw Pipsqueak again. But sometimes, when I looked out at the woods, I thought I saw little shiny eyes watching me from the shadows. And I would always remember the cold, cruel smile of the thing that used to be my imaginary friend. I learned that not everything imaginary is just in your head. Sometimes, the things you can't see are the most dangerous of all. And sometimes, the friendliest faces hide the darkest secrets. I was just a kid, but that summer in Wisconsin taught me a lesson I would never forget. The world wasn't always safe, even in a small town. And sometimes, the monsters wear green suits and little top hats. You just have to be brave enough to see them for what they really are. And you have to be even braver to fight them. Even if no one else believes you. Because sometimes, you're the only one who can. And the things you imagine can be the most real and the most terrifying things of all.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster.